Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry you own isn't new. It's inherited. A ring from a grandmother, a necklace full of memories, but no longer your style. Duke's Jewelers reimagines family heirlooms into custom pieces you'll actually wear and love. Working one-on-one, Duke's designers honor the original story while creating something fresh and modern. Don't let meaningful jewelry sit unused. Let it live on beautifully. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville or online at dukesjewelers.com, where old stories become new treasures.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Mammoth do it again. They go on the road and they win for the 7th time in the last 9 road games. Why they're 1-5 at home? Who knows? But they'll have to figure it out when they get home. Right now, they're on the road. They're in Seattle, and they were down 2-0, and they rattled off 6 goals in a row. A couple power plays got it going, got them up 3-2, and they cruise from there. So, 2 more points. They've got 84 now. They are inching towards clinching that playoff berth. Whether they'll get the Ducks or the Oilers, possibly Vegas in the first round, remains to be seen. But another big step towards the postseason. And having given up the first 2 goals, that was an impressive rally. Let's get to the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Utah Mammoth erased a 2-0 first period deficit on the way to their second straight 6-2 victory on the road. 6-2 the final. Thursday night in Seattle to pick up their 39th victory of the year, and they've got a 5-point lead now on that first wildcard spot they hold on to in the Western Conference. 5 points up on the latest team to take over the second wildcard spot in the NHL, the San Jose Sharks. Mammoth will be back in action coming up tomorrow, 5 p.m. in Vancouver, 4 p.m. Hockey Night in Utah right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. For the Mammoth, Logan Cooley will once again get the scoring started in the first period on the power play, and with his 21st of the year, getting Utah on the board.
Schmaltz all the way across. Cooley looks in, shoots and scores! Another power play goal. That one coming from Logan Cooley.
So 2-1 at the first intermission. It looked like it was 3-1 Seattle, but the Mammoth challenged that. Kraven was interfered with, and a 3-1 lead for Seattle would be overturned back to 2-1, and the Mammoth had quickly pounced on that opportunity to tie it up. Logan Cooley again, 22nd of the year, making it 5 goals in his last 3 games, and we were tied just past the halfway point.
Feeds one in front, rebound, they score, and guess who? Logan Cooley's got his second of the game.
Mammoth wouldn't look back from there. Nick Schmaltz on the power play gives Utah the lead that they would hold on to the rest of the way on his 28th.
Keller towards the middle in front for Schmaltz, and they score! A beautiful setup between 2 that have done it so many times. Keller and Schmaltz.
Big insurance goal from J.J. Peterka. His 23rd made it 4-2, 4:39 into the third.
Here's Peterka with a shot. He scores! J.J. Peterka finds the goal column.
And less than 3 minutes after that, Dylan Gunther would get his 37th. It was initially ruled no goal on the ice for goalie interference. Utah challenged that. They'd win again, 37th of the year for Gunther. Then Michael Carcone, his 15th on the power play. Mammoth with a 6-2 victory. They sweep the season series from Seattle 3-0, outscoring him 17-6, but they did trail in all 3 games against the Kraken. 5 of Utah's 6 goals in the contest came from their stars, players with 20 goals or more on the season, and Michael Carcone getting his 15th. Karel Vejmelka stops 25 of 27 for his 34th victory of the season as the Mammoth opened April with a victory. Let's hear what Nick Schmaltz, hear what he had to say after the contest.
After Seattle took a 2-0 start, you guys just kept chipping away and keep pushing at it. What did you see out of your team as they continued to stick with the game and then explode with goals in the second and third?
Yeah, I thought we had a tough start there. They were kind of all over us, and we stuck with it. And I thought that power play in the first got us going a little bit and got us some momentum going in the locker room. And then I thought we took over in the second and played a great third period.
straight games which this team has had multiple power play goals. When you look at the addition of Cooley and just the effort from everyone, now that these goals are falling, what are some of the biggest takeaways about why you guys are so successful with not only chances but goals?
Yeah, I think we're doing a better job shooting the puck. I think, a lot of times we look for the perfect play and it's not there, but I think we're shooting pucks and then making plays off of that, and we got a good attack mindset, and we're doing a really good job of recovering loose pucks and keeping possession time.
Two pretty monumental decisions from your video staff with Hunter Cherney and Alec Ripto. What can you say about the confidence you guys have when they're in charge of reviewing those calls?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a pretty ballsy call, up 4-2 with however much time left. If they're wrong, they need a power play. So it's a big play, and to go up 5-2 there kind of sealed the deal for us. So that's big time.
Nick, it seemed like patience was a big deal in the game plan tonight when you got behind it. It almost seems like one of those games back in January where you were patient and then kind of went attack mode.
Yeah, for sure. I think we knew it was going to be a tight checking game, and both teams really needed to get 2 points tonight.
What did you see in terms of the mentality?
Yeah, I think we were sloppy in the first half. We were just not executing. We were throwing pucks away. We weren't moving our feet, and then as the game went along, we started getting a little more pace and started getting some extended ozone time and tiring them up and making them play defense, which is always tough.
Schmaltz's 28th of the year came on the power play. Utah now 8 for their last 15 on the power play. At least 2 power play goals in 3 straight games for the first time this year. They scored 3 power play goals on Thursday night in Seattle. And the penalty kill, best in the NHL since March 15th, 21 for the last 22. Let's hear from JJ Peterka after the contest.
JJ, after Seattle took that 2-0 lead, you guys just kept chipping away, kept staying patient, had those opportunities. What did you see out of your team progressing with their play throughout the second and third periods for the battle?
I think it took us a little bit to get in the game. After that, I think good pace. We played hard. We got pucks behind him. And, I think just kept playing our game.
With the playoff race right now, this was a significant win. How will you take this confidence and momentum into the second half of this road trip?
Well, we know how big that was. And I think just building off this, especially those last games, so important, those little details. And I think we can take away a lot from today. And like I said, I think just building off it.
What was the message going into the second period and even the third period to get back into that execution you wanted to see from your group?
Just playing our game. I think that was the main focus. We got carried away a little bit at the start, but I think second period, third, we just kept pushing the gas pedal.
What's been different about this power play? I mean, obviously that's the addition of Cooley, but what's been different about the execution of it? Maybe even a month ago up to the last couple of games.
Confidence, I think. We're out there making plays, getting opportunities, and I think just shooting more. I think that's the main factor right now.
And when you guys are able to solidify this position where you're at in the wild card and the playoffs, a bunch of you guys haven't necessarily gone through this before, but where you're at right now, how does that push you forward?
I think it just gives us confidence. I think we're in a really good spot right now, and just gotta keep pushing. I think the road trip is really important for us. Big game in Vancouver, but I think just
Utah able to get things rolling, down 2-0 in the first after playing on 4 days rest. It was the first time this year in 4 games that they won a game playing on 4 days rest, losing coming out of Christmas, the Olympic break, and after 5 days off, returning to action in November. But soldiering through this one, Karel Vejmelka was solid, and Utah picks up the victory. 7 games left now on the regular season. Mammoth home on Tuesday with Edmonton. 3 home games next week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
A huge game from our special team. Obviously starting the game not the way we wanted. We knew we'll have a little bit of rust. They didn't play for 4 days, but like the way the guys respond, obviously, like I just said, our power play got us going. Then our PK was rock solid, and I think we got better during the game. From every period, every shift, we got better.
That first challenge really turned momentum back for Utah, and then the second challenge helped you get the game as well. What can you say about the video staff, but also your team responding to that and taking that momentum with it?
Yeah, I like to keep the credit on the player, but this one, I need to give some credit to Hunter and his group. I think they did a really good job. as much as the one we challenged and the one we didn't challenge, in the sense of I think that was the right call. So good job by them.
How did your team sharpen their play in the second and third period?
Well, like I said, I think we're a little bit rusty at the beginning, but I think we were better. I don't think we played was not a Picasso, was not the best game we played, but we find a way. You cannot always expect to play your A game. To expect every night you go in and you will play your A game, you execute, you will have the intensity, the reads. It's not the way it happens. So you need to be able to pull it and win games when your game is not as sharp. And I think we did tonight. Like I said, special team were huge. Timing of the goal. Guys stayed with it. We had soul. We had spirit on the bench. So I love the way we did it.
Some of the offensive numbers, the chances off the cycle, off the rush, high danger, lopsided. What did you see in terms of the execution from some of those opportunities that we haven't necessarily seen in the past?
Yeah, it's a team on the other side who clogged the middle, but I like the way we respond, like I said, in the second and the third, in the sense. In the first, I didn't like the pace we had offensively. We were letting them get 5 above and close the middle, but we were not fast enough in the way we were attacking, and we were looking for the next best play. So I really like the way we turned it around, and our D were good at putting puck through in the second period, and we used the top of the zone. And I always say that when you play against a team who pack it in, if you don't have offense from your D, it's easier to shut down.
We'll be talking all about it on Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, and SEG Plus. Also have a bonus edition of the mailbag for you coming up at our Friday free-for-all and our local hockey segment. We'll talk to a former Grizzly who just led the Vernal Oilers to their second straight championship season. All coming up on your Friday Mammoth Daily. Back with you tomorrow at 5. Hockey Night in Utah. Pregame coverage starting at 4 before the face-off in Vancouver.
There is the best of the post-game show. We'll take a break. When we come back, BYU football coach Kalani Sitake. Stay with us.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. BYU football coach Kalani Sitake meeting with the media. Spring football rolling along in Provo. Here's Kalani.
I thought spring ball went really well, and you guys have heard from me every week, and so now this will be the last time you hear from me forever. I mean until probably tomorrow. Tomorrow at the golf tournament, not the golf, at the alumni day, and all the golf tournaments that I suck at in golf, but it's okay. But yeah, anytime we can talk about football. I thought overall, I loved the way the team worked, and had some new faces that we wanted to put in our offense and defensive schemes, and everyone that we brought in, I think is going to be great contributors to our team. And so overall, just really happy with what we've been able to accomplish in the practices that we did, and we had some new coaches that came in, and some coaches at different and new roles, and just really happy with K-Pop, what he's been able to do with the defense, and really happy with what Justin has been able to do with special teams, and A-Rod and the offensive staff been solid. So from what I can gather from spring, really good start, and I'm excited about the offseason. I'm excited about the next step, which is getting to fall camp and making sure that these guys get a lot of stuff done and accomplished between now and by the time we open camp in the fall. So what questions do you guys have for me?
All right, first question is going to be from Jay Catch.
Yeah, Kalani, we've heard from A-Rod and also from Kelly just about the veteran nature of this squad. What is your confidence level in this team right now as compared to what it maybe has been the past 2 seasons?
Well, I feel really good about the program and the leadership on the team. And so I think in order for you to have great leaders, you have to have people that are willing to follow. And so we have a really good dynamic in the team. I think I give a lot of credit for the player retention surviving the portal because it's a great family, and the reason why it's a great family is because of the young men in our program and the leadership that we have. So we're able to see the leaders take their role and relish in it, but also welcome some new leaders to our program in spring, and it's been really nice. I mean, I know it's one thing, if you look at the position of the quarterback, it helps having a guy that played for us, last year and understands the offense. That makes it a lot easier. And I think even things like having Trayson Bourget there with Bear is going to be really helpful for us. I thought Trayson did some really good things in spring, and we know we can win games with him.
Also wanted just to ask you about the new defense. You already talked about Kelly, guys like Lewis Walker, how DeMar. How do you feel like they did in their first camp with the team?
Yeah, they've been great. I mean, everything that I've been able to spend some time with them because I know offensively what they have, and there wasn't a lot of new things other than what they want to accomplish with Bear understanding the offense a little bit more. But with K-Pop, I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be there with him and see what he was going to do. Put him in positions where he's going to make calls like he would in the game, and understand how he's going to function as a leader. And that's from what I've already seen, and it's exactly what I thought. He's going to be in a really good spot, and I think he's going to be a great coordinator for us.
Next question from Jay Drew.
Yeah, a couple questions. Kalani, with no transfer portal opening this April, how will your just month change moving forward this next month? And also, will you still do the exit interviews and interview all the players?
Oh yeah, I think the exit interviews is key for us to communicate to the players how they did in spring, and then set our expectations for them, what we expect from them in the next couple of months, and then and then see where they're at when we get here in the summer. And a lot of that has to go with some of the guys actually weren't able to play in spring or are going to come off injury, so everybody has to understand where we see them and what we want them to accomplish in the next a short-term goal, and then the goal for what they want to do when they get to the fall, and how they want to compete for playing time. So the exit interviews are a big part of the process for us ending spring.
And then the characteristic or identity of a team sometimes is hard to maybe nail down in spring, but has anything emerged as far as this particular team for you as an identity? You mentioned leadership, but anything else like that?
I don't know. I don't know if that's my job to determine the identity. I think they'll come out from what everybody else sees. And so you guys have been around our players, you've been around our leaders, and you see what they're capable of doing. And I want these guys to stay humble, work hard, always stay hungry, and try to find ways to get better. And the culture of love and learn, it works, so just have them double down on that. And then but part of learning is you make mistakes, you learn from them. We saw that in the spring. I mean, we made a lot of mistakes. I want our guys to make as much and many mistakes as possible in practice so that it doesn't show up in the game. But what we want to do is eliminate us making the same mistakes repeatedly. So we've got to be more disciplined as a team. There's a lot of factors that go into winning games, and we've got to be on point with so many things right now. And we'll take advantage of the time that we have, but I feel like where we're at currently, at the beginning of April, I feel really good about it, but we still have some work to do. We're not ready to go to the season yet, but we will be by the time we get to the fall, and by the time we get to August, we'll be ready to roll.
All right, next question from Mitch Harper.
Kalani, following up on the exit interview piece that you were just kind of addressing, last year there was so much conversation about trimming down and unfortunately having to make cuts. Is that even needed now with the limits? Is that even a conversation? Or the guys that are here, will they be here in the fall, I guess?
Yeah, I think because we already went through that already. That's the roster is always a fluctuating thing, but more is just us adding the guys that we were going to put on the roster that came home from missions just recently, and we have a few more that are coming home from their missions, in a couple months. But for the most part, what's been different this year is having all the high school kids that are starting now. Every one of them is enrolled with us early and got here in January, and except for one. We have one, Antonio, that's Antonio Johnson, that's joining us in June, but everybody else is here. And so to get a jump start on it, that's huge for them, their development. And so I've seen those guys. I mean, it's interesting. The freshmen that got here, when we were looking at our numbers, they actually got faster during spring ball, and that's a good sign. That means that there's a huge potential and upside to them, and there's no ceiling. So we got to push it and see how far we can get these guys to improve physically, mentally, and in all aspects of their life, spiritually, all that. So now the focus shifts to them finishing school. We have finals coming up, and BYU, we end school earlier than other universities. So hopefully they can get that stuff going. We've had record GPAs for the last six semesters, and so we've got to make it 7.
And you guys, to follow up on that, you guys are one of the early starters and finish dates with spring football. The calendar is a big talking point in this sport. What do you want going forward? Spring ball as it's currently constructed, or more of a OTA model like the NFL, what's been floated around? Does this model still work with how spring practices are constructed?
Well, I know that there's some thought that it might move to an OTA, like a little bit more flexibility next year. This year, they stuck with the spring football calendar. Like, you're going to, for everybody to do it in a certain amount of time, they're 15 practices. And so I just do whatever they let us, So if the rules are that you can do it like an OTA system, and you can have the flexibility of a certain amount of practices from January to the end of June, then we'll make it work. I have a great sports science group that helps us get everything ready. And if you're asking me, I don't know. That's not my expertise. That's not what you guys pay me here to do. But I have people that know that area, and once we're allowed to kind of have the flexibility of those practices, and then we'll put a plan together. But until that happens, I think this is the best plan for us this year. It's nice to think about, though, how cool it'd be if we can have the flexibility of a certain amount of practices between January and end of June. But right now, this is going to work for us, and I like the plan that we have so far.
Next question from Casey Lundquist.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned some of the freshmen that joined in time for spring camp. What has been your impression of both the incoming class of freshmen that participated in spring camp and the incoming transfers?
Yeah, they can all play, and we're going to have a deep team. So a lot of talent, and I look at, and you can kind of, with the return missionaries, it's harder because I remember coming home from a mission and never pulled a muscle, and then all of a sudden I get home from a mission and I pull a hamstring, and it's like, what is this? And I guess you're riding a bike and walking around all day, it doesn't prepare you for that stuff. But we just got to keep working with our return missionaries. They're coming along, but mentally, man, they're great teammates, and they're bought into the culture of the team and the culture of the developing the young people, and so. We're in a really good spot. We just have to be patient with the return missionaries. With the freshmen, I think they all got better. And with the transfer players that we got in the portal, it's going to make us a better team overall, talent-wise. Can we put it all together and make sure that we put them in a position to have success? That's going to be the key. And for what I saw in spring, what was nice is that one side just didn't dominate the other. It was back and forth, which is a good thing. I mean, if we only one side was winning every day, I'd be a little nervous, but both sides are really good and had their moments, and special teams is solid right now. And having Justin Ellaby full-time on the special teams is going to be such a huge advantage for us. That's what he played in the NFL. He was one of the best special teams players. So he understands how it works, and I've been really, really pleased with his leadership there. I don't know if he gets enough credit for what he does.
Next question from Jake Hatch.
Yeah, Kalani, is there a position group that has you, I guess, I don't know, wondering if the depth is going to be adequate? You talk about all about the depth and the talent you want, but is there a group or two that you're wondering if it's going to come through?
No, I feel good about it. I mean, there's probably some that people are wondering if it's going to be, if we're going to be able to replace the production that's happened. And I think you'd have to probably look, if I'm wondering what you guys are thinking, you're probably looking at Will Farron as a kicker and Sammy as a punter. And I think we're going to be fine then in that regard. We've got some really good guys to look at to compete for those spots. And, Fuller Shirts has done a great job for us punting the ball. And you look at the opportunities that we have with our kickers. We have, with what Matthias has been able to do in spring ball, I've been really pleased with his progress and seeing, he's been able to be mentored by Will Farron, which has been great for him. He's kicking the ball very similar to his style, so I think it will work there. And Ian Sanchez is a good player too, and then Brody Laga gets home from his mission. So we're gonna have plenty of guys that can kick, and guys that I thought Ty Smith has done a great job snapping the ball. I can't believe that I was teammates with his dad, Tyson. So it's like officially getting old, So this is kind of cool, but sad but cool.
All right, our last question will be from Mitch Harper.
I'm curious, Kalani, just like a personnel note, like which players, if any, suffered season-ending injuries in spring? Did that happen at all?
We had a couple guys, but I think more than anything, we'll just wait for the announcement when they make it. It's their own personal stuff, and we're not really in the season right now. But there are a couple that will be a little bit that nobody in the 2D, but a couple that I wish we could have.
And then just wanted to ask you, how much optimism does it give you and your program when you see this past year a non-traditional power like Indiana emerge as a national champion? Just how much juice maybe does it give? Like, hey, anyone could maybe win it if it all comes together as you guys try to pursue some big goals in your program.
I think that's really cool what Signetti and Indiana was able to do, but we were close. We were right there within grasp of the playoffs and didn't get in, and so there's a reason why a bunch of these guys came back. I just want them to focus on being their best, and then we can perform at our best. I like our chances, but it's not like you're all in for one thing only. This causes too much stress and anxiety. Let's just be all in for being as best as we can, and then plan on executing and having some competitive advantages that I think can really stand up for us, and maybe we can create a competitive edge and a gap between us and the other schools, and that stuff happens in all the work that we're going to be doing in the next couple months, the next few months. Hope's not a good it's a good motivator, but it's not a good strategy. The fact that Indiana was able to do that is great. We have a system in place now that there's a playoff, so you've got to find a way to get there, and the best way for us to get there is to play our best football, and that's easy said than done because everybody else is wanting that same thing too. So as long as we just keep trying our best, we're going to be able to live with and be excited about the results. But hope and just taking it, hoping a chance that it'll show up. You got to go get the work done and build that confidence that you did everything you can, so you can put your head up high and take the field, with a lot of momentum, a lot of strength.
Here's BYU football coach Kalani Sitake. We'll take a break. When we come back, Ken Pomeroy from KenPom.com talking Final Four. Who's going to win it all? Who's the dominant league going forward? It seems like 3 leagues have passed it around in the last 3 years, the bragging rights. We'll get to that with Ken Pomeroy next.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined once again by Ken Pomeroy from KenPom.com. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
For the people who know you, do you just get bombarded with Arizona or Michigan? Who's it going to be? Arizona or Michigan? What's going to happen? Arizona or Michigan?
Yeah, basically. Feels like, feels like we got, the national championship game on Saturday night, and not as much interest in the other games, certainly. And then whatever happens, whatever we get on Monday, it feels like people think it's just going to be a foregone conclusion that the winner of Arizona, Michigan is going to win the game on Monday. And it's not exactly the case.
No, you never really know for sure, obviously. But what do you see out of that Arizona-Michigan game?
It's gonna be awesome. There's not, you think about like strengths and weaknesses for teams, and typically you can look at any team, no matter how good they are, and it's like, hey, there's the weakness, there's the strength. But Michigan and Arizona are basically like full of strengths, and their weaknesses are just like other strengths that are slightly weaker. We're obviously, I guess the one thing is, obviously Arizona doesn't take a lot of threes. That is something everybody should understand by now. Their last two games have been played against very soft, relative to tournament level performance, really soft interior defenses in Purdue and Arkansas. And they're not going to have that benefit against Michigan. They're going to have to earn their points. In particular, so Michigan has like the third best 2-point defense in the country, which, they're playing Purdue and Arkansas are in like the 200s. So quite a difference there. Michigan doesn't foul that much, which is something that Arizona kind of depends on. So from the offensive side, it'll be a little more challenging for Arizona than it has been. But that said, like, Arizona's pretty darn good. So it's not like they're going to struggle in this situation. It's just not going to be quite as easy as it has been. So to me, I'm really interested to see how that side works out for them. And then can Arizona slow down Michigan, which, teams have slowed down Michigan this year. Not necessarily lately, but it has happened. So they're going to need to do that because Michigan, third best 2-point defense, second best 2-point offense. But Arizona has the second best 2-point defense, so they do have some ways to at least defend Michigan in the paint. And again, it'll be pretty vital for them to have success in doing that.
As BYU fans think, what do the Cougars have to do? Who do they have to model themselves after to build what they want to build and get where they want to get? And you look at these Arizona and Michigan teams, and Michigan's 1 in defense, Arizona's 2, and then at the offense end of the floor, Arizona's 4 and Michigan's 5 in offensive rating. So the answer then is be awesome at everything?
Yeah, the answer is be awesome at everything. That's all you have to do. Boom. You're winning national titles. I think what is also interesting just in terms of roster construction is that, neither team really is dependent on one player. Axel Lendeborg gets a lot of credit for Michigan, and deservedly so. Like, he's a really good player, but you look at like his offensive usage, and it's 21%, which the average player is 20%, and there's 5 players on the floor, so 20% is your average player. So he's basically like got average usage, and That's true for like Arizona as well. Like, they're not dependent on one guy. There's 4 or 5 or 6 guys that can all contribute offensively. Arizona in particular is feeling like a team that kind of like those Villanova teams that Jay Wright had before he retired, where you come into the tournament and be like, yeah, they don't really have that much NBA talent. Then all of a sudden you look 5 years later and like 6 guys from the roster are in the NBA. That's really the contrast with BYU. It's like you can go the path of trying to get the stud and giving him the ball on 35% of the possessions, and that will take you to certain places, but it's not really possible to contend for national titles if that's now the goal of BYU. It's not possible to contend for national titles under that paradigm.
And all the stuff that you do, KennyPalm.com, I'm wondering, do you ever just look at and say, well, this coach is better than that coach, so maybe that can skew some of the stuff that you're trying to put out?
Who are we possibly referring to here? Brad Underwood? No, not Brad Underwood. Probably Danny Hurley? We going Danny Hurley?
Well, whoever it might be, if you want to go Underwood in this case. Whoever, whatever, whenever. Yeah. It doesn't have to necessarily be this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, I was trying to maybe read too much into your question there, because I think in the other game, people are like, there's like universal surprise among the public that Illinois is favored in that game, and I think some of it rests on the coaching matchup. And obviously, like, UConn has a history of amazing tournament success relative to regular season success, so people maybe peg that on the coach. But Brad Underwood's been a pretty amazing coach in his own right. So I guess to answer your question, coaching is hard to measure, and I'm probably a little more skeptical than most that at this point in the season, coaching has a major difference. Just because you're kind of, self-selecting at this point. Like the teams that get this far, presumably they're doing it in part because their coach and coaching staff, they know what they're doing. I think before the season, it's a little different. There's certainly you can find guys who like ultimately, like, your season performance is the talent you bring in, which is the most important thing, and then how well a coach can mold that group into a functioning team and get the most out of it. And so there definitely are coaches that you see time and time again that have advantages in the latter part, and there's coaches that have advantages in the former part, and the best coaches are the ones that can do both. But at this point in the season, I don't think it's something that's too big a deal.
I'm curious with the way Duke has gone out in the tournament the last couple of years, and they have done a great job of getting multiple young pros in the top of the class, and they play a lot of freshmen, and there are coaches who will say, get old, stay old, and there's a lot of them, but maybe they don't have access to those elite freshmen, so they don't have to make the decision Duke makes. Do you think the fact that they've blown these big leads in they've lost 4 games going back to last year's tournament, and they've blown double-digit leads in all of them, do you attribute that to youth, or is that attributed to something else, or is that just the nature of college basketball and crazy things happen?
Yeah, I think it's crazy things happen and youth, like some mix of that. The youth, it's kind of what makes college basketball great. I don't recall seeing a play like well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say I don't recall seeing a play like that, in a crucial NBA game. But I guess there's we can fall back on J.R. Smith or whatever a few years ago, and people were replaying the I don't know what it is now, 25-year-old Michael Ruffin highlight where he tosses the ball in the air before the game is over, and it's like Wizards Raptors or something. The Raptors won that game. It comes down and the Raptors sink a 3 to win the game, or send it to overtime or something. But for the most part, you don't see what happened at the end of that Kentucky or Connecticut Duke game happen with more experienced players, I guess, is the general statement there. Duke was, for whatever reason, trying to advance the ball in a situation where they didn't really need to advance the ball. And you would think a more experienced team would would not do that. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of the youth factor involved there. That's part of the deal you make. And really, at this point, I mean, how many teams are winning with this kind of Duke system of going after the elite freshmen and pairing them up with, previous classes of elite freshmen that didn't quite turn out to be so elite and stuck around, like the Caleb Fosters and the Isaiah Evans that they had. It seems like Duke's the only one. I mean, Calipari's still trying to do it at Arkansas and having some success, but not nearly as much as John Shire's had. So I don't know. I do think at some point, I mean, this is, it's going to be the narrative until Duke gets over the hump. But Duke, the next 5 years, Duke's going to get over the hump if they stay with this approach. I mean, they have Final Four national championship level teams. And I don't think John Shire's a bad coach by any means. I think he's quite good. But obviously snake bitten in these end of game situations in ways that makes you question his ability in those situations. But for the most part, I think, yeah, it is part of the deal. You just have young, inexperienced players, and they're going to occasionally do things like that. And on top of that, occasionally those things are going to come back to haunt you. But sometimes they aren't going to come back to haunt you. Sometimes they get away with it. And sometimes you're just going to win games by 15 or 20 points, which is probably what Duke should have done in that game, given how things were going for the first 30 minutes of it.
All right, Ken, if DJ had asked you the question about the coaches, would you have read more into it? Was it just the fact that I asked the question and you don't really trust me?
No, it's actually the opposite, PK. Like, I just think you're a deeper thinker, and there's multiple levels to your questions that I need to consider, and so that's what I meant by that.
I can see that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was so good it totally derailed me. I had another question.
You jumped. Simple question.
You jumped. Oh, you totally derailed me with that.
Man.
All right, here's one
so
for you, Ken.
Skeptical, Ken, and I view you as pure.
That's pure. Okay, great. That's the first time I heard that.
Yeah, I know. Just take it and run with it, Ken. What the heck? All right.
Yeah.
In the esteemed vision of KenPom.com, obviously the Big Ten has got the best tournament record, 6 teams into the Sweet 16, 2 into the Final Four, blah, blah, blah. They're the kings this year, but it was the SEC who did it last year, and I think 3 years ago was Big 12. Do you view one of these leagues as about to pull away, or is this a little crown best conference in college basketball that's just going to get passed around for this foreseeable future, given the nature of the sport and guys coming and going every year?
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to predict from year to year. I mean, what we have is, so in college football, you think of the Power Four, and in college basketball, it's really a Power Five when you throw in the Big East. Like, the Big East is not a mid-major, just put it that way. So, we have a Power Five, but then within the Power Five, we also have this own kind of structure that is fairly predictable in that the 3 conferences you mentioned are clearly better than the ACC and the Big East. And we saw this start to happen last year, and continued to this season. And so, I don't know that there's necessarily any picking among those 3. There's any obvious top dog going forward. Maybe slight advantage to the SEC Big Ten over the Big 12, just due to resources, TV money, whatnot. So maybe slight advantage there, but overall, the safest thing to say is that those 3 conferences are going to be the best leagues in the sport for the foreseeable future, which that part has been unusual. I mean, the Big 12 was the top dog in my ratings for, a decade leading up to this period. But prior to that, you look in history, and some years, like the ACC would be number 1, or the SEC would have a couple of nice years. The Big East would be there. And I think the days of the ACC and the Big East are probably gone. The ACC has had to expand into, with teams that aren't necessarily ever going to be basketball powers, whereas at least the Big 12 and the SEC and the Big 10 have expanded into teams that can be basketball powers like Arizona in the Big 12 or UCLA in the Big 10 or whatever. So, I think that's the direction we're headed.
Do you think that have we seen maybe a restoration of the big man, the level of importance of the big man in the college game?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's definitely still room for the guy who doesn't shoot threes and plays maybe a more traditional, I don't know if post-up game is the right word, but certainly going through the post or going through the paint is certainly more possible than, I don't know, than it has been, but it's still possible. Let's put it that way. The trend in college has been a little behind the trend in the NBA just due to like talent availability, but compared to 10, 15 years ago, like most teams have 4s and 5s that have some sort of perimeter games. But it's not necessary. And, we've seen teams over the years and including this year have success in terms of guys who cannot necessarily shoot the three or don't shoot it a lot, have success. And so, you see that even with these Arizona and Michigan, UConn. All these Terrace Reed at UConn. He's more of a traditional bruising big man. Moses Malone vibes there for the old heads out there. Guy that rebounds and gets buckets to the rim. Michigan has a Mara who is, a pretty creative player when it comes down to it. He's definitely he's not a guy who shoots threes, but he is a guy who can pass like a point guard. So in that sense, he is skilled. And I think that's sort of the key is that these modern big men, even those who can't shoot, are just tremendously more skilled than big men of 25 years ago. And that's ultimately why I wave the banner for the game being, better than it's ever been. There's just so much more skill on the court than there used to be.
Utah State has a new basketball coach. What was your opinion of that hire? What was your surprise level that left Northern Iowa after 2.5 decades?
Yeah, there was some surprise there. I did not see that name coming. It's an interesting hire because on the one hand, yeah, sure, fits the MO what Utah State has done, going after mid-major head coaches. On the other hand, they've skewed towards more up-and-coming head coaches, and now we're going with an established guy who he's had a fine track record at Northern Iowa, but it hasn't been off the charts. I think 5 tournament appearances in 20 years, and it's at Northern Iowa. You're not going to go to the tournament every year, but had some ups and downs there. Obviously got to the tournament this year in a somewhat surprise run in their conference tournament, but yeah, I'm of all their hires, I feel like this is the one I'm least excited about. It's not to say it won't work out. He's obviously been successful. It's just he hasn't been that successful, guys, if I'm being honest. So I am slightly concerned about how this might turn out. On top of that, at least this past season, played at a very slow pace. So it's not necessarily the most interesting style. It could be, a lot of low-scoring games up there at Logan next season. So if you're going to play that style, you better have some success. Otherwise, it could be a little rough. So I don't know. I'm sounding a little pessimistic here, but I was surprised they went in that direction.
Ken, we will leave it right there. We appreciate it as always. So who do you have winning it all just on the way out the door?
I'm gonna go Michigan. I'd love to spring some sort of Cinderella pick. I got a little soft spot for Illinois. So nobody's really thinking about them, and I do think it'll be a Michigan-Illinois final, a celebration of the Big Ten. Yes, a celebration of the Big Ten ending its 26-year streak without winning a title, doing so in the heart of Big Ten country in Indianapolis. That's what I foresee, and we'll see how it goes. But really, should be 2 excellent games on Saturday, 2 competitive games. So hopefully, a fitting conclusion to a season where, we've had a bunch of really good teams at the top of college basketball.
Ken, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the Final Four. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
There's Ken Pomeroy. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.